You know what? There are some niche fragrances I wouldn't rebuy. Hey Fragrance family, I'm David and I'm a fragrance bro. Of course, your best source for everything fragrance related. Today I have a video that is a follow-up to a previous video that I made about fragrances that I would rebuy, niche fragrances I would rebuy. Today I'm going to be doing a video on niche fragrances I would not rebuy. Guaranteed to get more views than the previous one. Now, of course, if you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe down below and click that little bell so you get a notification every time I make an upload. All right, so my previous video actually turned out to be a big hit, and a lot of people really like the idea of fragrances that you would rebuy. It's like your stamp of approval on a fragrance. I also really like the idea, and there are certain fragrances that I've had over the years, some that I still have, that I just will not rebuy after this. Now, some fragrances have already passed through my hands, and I'll mention those, but these fragrances are the ones that I consider mine, in my collection, in my staple collection. Now, if you're putting the pieces together, there are fragrances that I have not mentioned in either of these videos. Some that I will rebuy, some that I won't rebuy, and then some that are in the middle ground, and that's because I haven't made up my mind about the other ones. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the first one here, and this is a Tilia Cologne Pomelo Paradis. Now, I do actually really love this fragrance, and this is a fantastic grapefruit scent. The problem with this fragrance is that it smells a lot like Sundrunk by Imaginary Authors, but Sundrunk gives me more. It gives me more notes in there. It's more interesting, I think. And since both have generally the same performance, they're pretty light for both of them, I would definitely keep Sundrunk over this. So whenever Pomelo Paradis empties out, if it ever does, I may just sell this off, I don't know. I'm not gonna rebuy this one. I'm just gonna keep Sundrunk forever. Now, speaking of Imaginary Authors, there are some Imaginary Authors on this list, believe it or not. Like with a lot of things, sometimes you have something and maybe over time it just doesn't click with you anymore, or you just don't wear it anymore. And so with this, especially with these Imaginary Authors fragrances, that's the main reason why. It's something that I just don't love anymore, that I probably won't wear a lot of until it's gone. But I'm definitely keeping the bottles because they look amazing. First one is Oh Unknown, which is a fantastic tea scent. Tea and sandalwood and some vanilla in there as well. I really like this scent. I just don't wear it a lot. I wore it a few times this last fall, and I think it's good. I like it, but I don't love it. And it's one of those fragrances where I look at it and I'm like, there's other fragrances I'd rather wear. And that's the problem with Oh Unknown for me anyway. Next is Whispered Myths. And Whispered Myths is Imaginary Authors oud scent. And it is a very interesting oud. It's also challenging too, which is one reason why I won't rebuy this. I think it's very interesting conceptually. I think it's really good for people who like that kind of fecal type of oud with animalic quality there. I think that some people will really like that. And I see a lot of the merits of this scent, and I do think it's still very good, but it's not something that I wear a lot of, and it's not something I'm going to rebuy whenever I run out. Next is Slow Explosions by Imaginary Authors, and Slow Explosions is a beautiful scent. I think it's a beautiful rose apple saffron scent. This one has a lot of people who really, really enjoy this, and I think for good reason. It's beautiful, except it just doesn't work on me. Every time I wear it, it smells too rosy and too floral, and it's not something that my wife likes. It's not something that any of my friends really like. It just is not really good in my world, and it's not really good on me. And so even though I think it's beautiful, it's just not wearable for me. And next is A City on Fire, and this is the last one from Imaginary Authors, and another one that I really love. I really love this from Imaginary Authors. The main problem that I have with this is it's hard to find an occasion where I can wear this. I really love wearing it. I really like how it develops on my skin, but I have to find a reason to wear it. I have to find a place to wear it. And it's hard for me to wear it because it's so smoky and woody. It has some really interesting things that happen, especially with that berry, musky dry down. But because of how smoky and forward it is with that kind of oily, smoky quality that it has, it's not something that I want to smell like all the time. And so as far as an occasion, it's a really specific niche type of occasion that I could find it, and I didn't even pick it up last year. It's just something that has just sat on my shelf, and I didn't get any wearings out of it this last year, unfortunately. So yeah. All right, let's mention two from Alma Wash. Alma Wash is an interesting house, and I don't love everything from them, but I've had two of the fragrances that are really some of the more popular fragrances. So let's start with Reflection Man. Reflection Man is a wonderful metallic, woody, floral scent, and it's a great scent, I think, overall. But it's one of those scents where every time I wore it, it didn't feel like it was at home with me. Every time I wore it, I felt like I was wearing someone else's fragrance, and it was like an imposter type of scent. Maybe that doesn't happen with you, maybe it does, I'm not sure, but there are some scents that whenever I wear them, I don't feel like me. It doesn't feel like my scent. It feels like I'm trying to be someone else. And those scents I just get rid of. Reflection Man was one of those type of scents. And even though people around me liked it, they generally thought it was a very pleasant scent and they enjoyed it, every time I wore it, it just irked me, so I had to get rid of it. Jubilation 25 is a similar type of story, except for my wife didn't like it. Jubilation 25 is a wonderful, wonderful scent. It has a really great juicy blackberry note with some really nice ambery woods, and it's one of the best Oriental style masculine fragrances that I've tried in a long time. It deserves all the praise that it gets, but every time I wore it, it felt like it was just a little bit too old for me. And some people may just disagree with that, but it felt a little bit too old for me. And again, it felt like it was for someone else. And my wife didn't like it. So if my wife dislikes a fragrance, I have to consider how much I really love the fragrance. Do I love it more than my wife hates it? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And that's the case with this one. I liked Jubilation 25, but my wife hated it. So I had to get rid of it just because I didn't want to wear something that I didn't really love, but my wife couldn't stand. So I wanted to get rid of it for her sake. Love you, boo. Next is a popular Bond fragrance, and that one is Bleecker Street. Bleecker Street is another one that is really popular with them. It has kind of a cassia, almost blueberry type of thing, violet leaves. It's a really interesting fragrance. And again, it's another one of those fragrances that is really a great fragrance and deserves the hype that it gets. But whenever I wore it, it was one of those things where it felt really sad. Sometimes fragrances have like an emotional feeling attached to them. And some fragrances that I have feel happy. Sometimes they feel sad. This one felt really sad. And so every time I wore it, I only could wear it, to me, it felt appropriate in the rain. If there's a rainy day, I would wear Bleecker Street. And so that kind of just enhanced that kind of sadness that it had. I didn't really like that sad quality that it brought, and I didn't feel like it had any kind of beautiful quality to the sadness that it was, so I got rid of it ultimately. Next is Bond number 9, New Harlem. New Harlem, again, is another really popular scent from them. I like this. I really liked it at first when I first had it, and it has that kind of syrupy breakfast type of thing, but there's something in the heart of New Harlem that really irked me, and someone said it was with the lavender in there, and every time I smelled it, I saw what they meant. It was really sweet. It was too sweet for me. And that weird lavender thing just did not jive with me. I just did not, over time, I just grew to really hate it. So that's a fragrance I will not buy again. All right, next let's go with 2 from the House of Creed. And there are some Creed fragrances on this list. The first one is Virgin Island Water. Now, Virgin Island Water is a very specific type of scent, has that very kind of tropical vibe. I didn't end up liking this at all. I wore it some, I wore it a few times, and I ended up just really hating it. Virgin Island Water, to me, does not smell expensive. It is one of those Creed fragrances that just smells really cheap. And there are so many other fragrances out there that I've smelled in the wild, just people wearing fragrances that are just like Bath and Body Works or body spray type of things that smell exactly like this, that lime coconut type of thing. Plus, I just don't like that type of smell. Whenever I smelled it, I was like, it's too tropical, it's too kitschy. It's borderline corny with how tropical it is. I felt like every time I wore it, I needed to be wearing, just some kind of a Hawaiian shirt and a lei, or, and flip-flops or something. I had to be wearing something that looked as goofy as the fragrance smelled. And so that's why I had to get rid of it, and I'm not buying it again. All right, and next is Aventus, believe it or not. Aventus. Here's the thing with Aventus. I like Aventus. I really like Aventus. Everyone likes Aventus. And that is, I think, the problem with me. Everyone really, really likes Aventus. It's just it's almost become a meme at this point. Aventus. And I don't think that Aventus has reached the saturation point with the general audience of people who wear fragrances, but it's definitely reached a saturation point within the fragrance community itself. And part of that has kind of annoyed me some. And because I like to smell at least somewhat unique, I like the uniqueness of the experience of wearing a fragrance that no one else really wears. Wearing Aventus gets on my nerves sometimes. But at the same time, I really like the smell. I really love it. I love it. So this might change over time, I'm not sure. I actually have the Z01 batch, the X02 batch decants under my cabinet. And this one, I don't even know what batch this is. It's just one of the batches that came out like a couple years ago or something like that. And this one's fine. It smells just like the other ones do, I think. It's fine. X02 and the Z01, they're nothing special, guys. But yeah, Aventus, it's good, probably great. But because of how many other fresh scents I have that I think are truly great and unique in their own ways, I'm probably not gonna keep it. But who knows? I may change my mind, we'll see. But what are your niche fragrances that you will not rebuy? Let me know down in the comments which ones you just are not gonna get again. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. I love you for it. I'll see you next time. I'm Dave with the Fragrance Bros. Bye.